Hi, everybody. Thank you for giving me a couple of minutes to reset as I get ready for the second half of this book haul. I couldn't carry all of the books out at once, so I just had to reset my stacks. So the first book I wanted to talk about today that I just got out of the library was The 100 Years' Wars of Palestine. I saw this on an Instagram post where they were talking about books that you can read to educate yourself on what's going on in Israel and Palestine. And that's why I decided to pick it up. The next book I got from the library today is Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot. I saw this on the same Instagram post that I saw the 100 Years War on Palestine on. And I am looking forward to learning more about how feminists are getting involved in the war on Hood Feminism is a ferocious clarion call to all would-be feminists to live out the true mandate of the movement in thought and in deed. So I'm interested to see what this author has to say about issues that are important to her, and hopefully it will inspire me. The next book that I am reading is 1984 by George Orwell. I read a modern retelling of this book last year called Julia, which was recommended to me by Jack Edwards, which I love, which I really enjoyed. So I'm interested to see if I like this book too. And I'm reading a book that's kind of similar in theme for my friends in Gilmore Girls TBR called The Memory Police, which was recommended to me by Books and Lala. So the other George Orwell book that I have read is Animal Farm, which I read for my experiment last year, where I read books that I read in school to see if my opinion still stood up. And I will be wrapping up that TBR in a separate video next week. The next book is The Liar's Dictionary by Ellie Williams. Olive recommended this to me, and it's a book about a person who has a college internship at a dictionary, and her manager at the dictionary is telling her to watch out for words that may be getting erased. So I'm excited to see what this is about. The next book is I can't remember the order of these books, but this is in the Winter Street Trilogy by Elin Hildenbrand, the same author as the Nantucket book series and 28 Summers. And basically this is set in the same Nantucket town that the summer books are set in, only it's set in Christmas time. And I am reading this particular Elin Hildenbrand trilogy as part of my Gilmore Girls TBR, because the hotel in this trilogy reminds me of Independence Inn or Dragonfly Inn. The next book I am reading this month is The Bridges of Madison County by Robert James Waller. I decided to read this book because Manchester Community Theatre Players is doing the musical in May, and I have never seen the musical, and I have never read the book, and I have never seen the movie. So me and my friend Christy, who is the music director of the play, are buddy reading this together, and so far I am enjoying it. I'm about halfway through. This book is only 171 pages, and I am on page 110. So I should be done with this easily by Monday. The next book I got out of the library today, actually, I just finished listening to the audiobook at the end of last week. This was Reese's book club pick for January. And as I just said, I just listened to it on audio, and I can't wait to read the physical book. I think I may actually start the audiobook over again so I can read the audiobook and the physical book at the same time. The next book is a book that I borrowed from my mom before she left for Florida for vacation when I was at her house the other day. This was on my top 23 books that I read in 2023 TBR, and I am reading it again because it has similar themes in it to The Memory Police. So I'm really enjoying my reread so far. I am on part 2. And I am on page 144. The next book is a book that my mother-in-law, So my mother-in-law, Sally, loaned me this book the other day. It's called A Visit from the Goon Squad. It won a Pulitzer Prize last year, and I really like it. It's very interesting so far. I'm only on chapter 5, so I'm not very far into it yet. I picked this book up because of Gabby Reads. She has it on her TBR, and I love books about bookstores, so when I was shopping with my mother-in-law the other day, I found this book at Bull Moose, and I paid for it with my store credit I got for the books that I donated. The next book that I'm reading is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is another dystopian novel that is set during a time when climate change has really ruined the world, and it's really interesting. I started this on Sunday, and I am on chapter 39, page 205. The next book that I am reading that I got as a loan from my mother-in-law is Playground by Richard Powers. This is by the same author who wrote Bewilderment, which I read last year and really liked. So this is another book about climate change that I'm really enjoying, and I am on page 162. The next 3 books are recent purchases. The first one is Romeo and Juliet. Me and Kathleen are doing this book as this Shakespeare play as one of our buddy reads for February. The second buddy read is The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. So this play is the focus of the Gilmore Girls episode from season 2, Runaway Little Boy, where Paris is directing Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet for a school project, and Tristan, who was played by Chad Michael Murray, kind of joins the project at the last minute. He's kind of a slacker. He's kind of a rebel. He doesn't like to put the work in. He always shows up to rehearsal late. I personally think Brad should have been cast as Romeo, but he kind of drops out of the project, and Tristan takes his place, because the reason why Brad drops out is because he's pretty much afraid of Paris, and he has social anxiety around her because she's controlling. And to me, Paris reminds me of a high school version of Monica from Friends, because she's so OCD and wants things done a certain way. And that's the reason why, for my fan fiction I'm writing, I chose to make Paris related to Ross and Monica, because I just see a lot of similar personality traits to Monica and Paris. So I cannot wait to do the film and book comparison. We are going to be comparing, as I said in the first part of the video, for our adaptation comparison, we are going to be reviewing the 1996 film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, the Wishbone episode, and the Gilmore Girls episode that I was just talking about, where they're doing Romeo and Juliet as a school project, and Tristan and Rory are playing Romeo and Juliet. The next book that I ordered recently is the 25th anniversary of Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. So I read the original version of this book as a teenager, and the reason why I decided to read the 25th anniversary edition was because it's part of my TBR of books that were published the same year that Friends and Gilmore Girls were on. As I said, the original version of this book was published in 1997. I used a lot of the stories as inspiration to help me get through difficult times as a teenager. I also had the Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul journal, which unfortunately I do not have anymore because it got all ripped apart and damaged throughout the moves I had between Amherst, Nashua, and Maine. So, unfortunately, I cannot share the anecdotes my friends wrote to me in that journal that I would look back on when I was having confidence issues, but I'm really excited to see how this book has been updated to inspire present-day kids, and I am hoping to write a story sometime this year that I'm hoping will get published in a future Chicken Soup book, because I was looking through their website for what they're looking for future submissions, and I saw a couple of things that I might want to write about, so that might be a future writing project for me. The next two books that I picked up are the print bookstore book club books for Reading the Rainbow and Books and Beer at Rising Tide Brewing. So this book is called A Year Without a Name, and it's by, sorry, I dropped my bookmark. So this book is called A Year Without a Name, and it is a coming out story of somebody who is transgendered. I will read you the description on the back. How do you know if you are transgender? How do you know if what you want and feel is real? How do you know whether to believe yourself? Cyrus Dunham's life always felt like a series of imitations. A lovable little girl, daughter, sister, young gay woman, but in a culture of relentless self-branding, in a family subject to the intrusions and objectifications that attend fame, dissociation can come to feel normal. Dunham's fearless searching debut brings us inside the chrysalis of a transition inflected as much by whiteness and proximity to wealth as by gender, asking us to bear witness to an uncertain, exhilarating process that troubles the most basic assumptions about identity, written with disarming emotional intensity in a voice uniquely his. A Year Without a Name is Dunham's potent, thrillingly unresolved meditation on queerness, family, and selfhood. The next book that I'm reading for book club at Print Bookstore is Helen of Troy, 1993, by Maria Zoccola, and it is a poetry collection about Helen of Troy from ancient Greece. As a person who is a fan of poetry and mythology, I'm very excited to read this and discuss this at book club. I'm looking very forward to the discussion we're going to have about this anthology. The last book I'm talking about today is We Were Jaguars. I am doing a tandem read with this book and listening to the audiobook at the same time. So I think I'm going to restart the audiobook from the beginning just so I can be at the same place. I think in the audiobook I am on chapter 6, which would bring me up to page 73. So I'm actually, maybe I can just read the chapters in a physical book that I've listened to on audio so I can be at the same position I am in. So this was Reese's Book Club's pick for November, and it is the only Reese's Book Club book from last year that I have not read yet. So it is a memoir by a Native American woman named Namonte Nikimo, and she is from the Waorani tribe of Ecuador's Amazon rainforest. So I have never heard of this Native American tribe before, so it has been really interesting to learn about their culture, and I can't wait to get further and further into it. As I said, in the audiobook, I am only on chapter 6. And other books that I am listening to or reading on my Apple Books app are Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, the 4th book in the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn, and that is also part of my From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR, not because it has anything to do with any episodes of Friends or Gilmore Girls specifically, but because Penelope and Colin remind me so much of Monica and Chandler. The next book that I just finished reading on my Apple Books app is Nicholas Sparks's new release from last September called Counting Miracles. I was really anticipating this release, but then I read it and I realized that the themes of all of his books seem to be quite repetitive. So I ended up giving Counting Miracles 3.75 stars on Goodreads. I mean, I love the setting of all of his books because they're all set on the beaches of North Carolina, and it's very beautiful. But as I've read a lot of books in his backlist, such as Nice as Rodanthe, A Walk to Remember, The Last Song, I realized that a lot of the themes of his books are quite repetitive, but his writing is gorgeous, so that's why I go back to his books. Let's see. Oh, did I cover everything? I think I did. Another book that I mentioned in my last video that I'm buddy reading with Anna is called Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. It's a romance book that's set in Canada, and the book focuses on two characters named Bo and Win. Again, as I mentioned in the other video, this book focuses on the unwanted pregnancy trope, which is not a trope I'm really familiar with reading. The other book that I'm going to start reading that deals with this trope as well is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone, which was recommended to me by Rachel Catherine. I cannot say I can relate to these characters because I've never been pregnant. I don't think we're going to have any kids. So, but I love this author's writing. This is my first book by the author, Hannah Bonham Young. And I love the characters. I love their relationships. So I am about 50% done with the audiobook of Out on a Limb. So I should be able to finish it by either today or tomorrow. And then once Anna and I have our discussion, I will do an independent review of the book and talk about our thoughts on it and what we liked and disliked. So thank you for tuning in and have a great weekend.